Hello and welcome to On Point. I'm Sophia Lesseos. Today we will be talking about how small businesses are handling COVID-19 as employees continue to work remotely. As employers juggle new regulations meant to create a safer environment, and as businesses adapt to the change. According to a recent survey from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, nearly 3 out of 5 small business owners worry they might have to permanently shut down. And in a survey by the U.S. Census Bureau, 79% of California's small businesses said that the pandemic has had a moderate or a large negative impact on their business. In a moment, we'll discuss the issue with a panel of guests, but first, we wanted to visit a business owned by one of our guests. Our reporter and moderator, Silvina Birchfield, spoke with one of the owners of a vegan restaurant in Burbank about how they are handling the crisis.
Back in March, the Karmazyn family was about to open their vegan restaurant until the coronavirus hit.
Around the time that the county had closed down, we were on the verge of getting our permits. And so that sort of came to an abrupt stop. And that was probably the most challenging part of all this because we still had all of our expenses to pay, of course.
Blazin' Burgers was finally able to open in July. They say the delay was actually a blessing in disguise.
It did push us back further, but looking back, it almost, in a way, was a good thing because it gave us more time to prepare.
The restaurant has faced challenges due to its vegan options.
We've had some issues with getting all the supplies, I think, that we need because of the effect it's had on the food chain.
However, they say offering fast food has saved them.
People have still come to do pickup orders, and also we currently have DoorDash that we just got, so now people can get things delivered. So it's actually been really good for us.
The family says that social media has also been an important tool.
I would say a lot of our customers, probably at least 75% of them come from following us on Instagram or seeing us on Facebook. So we definitely utilize Instagram and Facebook a lot and to help us boost our sales.
For now, they want to continue to safely serve their community.
Being able to, keep in mind that we want to keep our customers as safe as possible right now during this time. And we're just going with the flow and doing our best.
Reporting in Burbank, I'm Savannah Birchfield.
Now our On Point moderator, Savannah Birchfield, is here with our panel guests to open a discussion about how this game-changing issue is affecting businesses everywhere.
Hello everyone, my name is Savannah Birchfield and thank you for coming to On Point. So I am here with Kathryn Karmazyn from the vegan restaurant Blazin' Burgers and Brian Wisdom from DataLink Experts. DataLink Experts in Santa Clarita is a managed IT service provider for various clients. So my first question is directed to you, Kathryn. How do you feel about outdoor seating? I know that's one of the main things that you offer.
Yeah, I think that right now during the pandemic and these unprecedented times that outdoor seating is something that's providing a lot of camaraderie for people in general. And I think it's really a big social outing for people to be able to come and sit somewhere within the vicinity of a restaurant. So I think it's had a really positive impact on restaurants in particular and coffee shops and places that serve food and drink. And I think it's something people enjoy. They get to be outside and we've all been, locked up in our houses for months. So I think it's something that people are really enjoying and that's contributing positively to everyone's social lives. So I think it's a great thing to have.
Yeah, it's definitely helping people still continue to connect. So this next question is for both of you. Have your businesses received any government funds from the Paycheck Protection Program? I know, Kathryn, your co-owner, Marilyn, was saying that was a challenge when you first tried to start opening.
Yeah, so we had a pretty unique situation. We opened our business not quite at the time when we were qualified to receive any government funding. We were kind of stuck in the like in the middle area. We weren't officially a business yet, but we already had a place that we had leased out. So we actually didn't get any government funding. We kind of fell in the middle. So that was definitely difficult for us, but we were able to still sustain and pull through, and we're doing absolutely amazing now. So yeah, as of now, though, we haven't received any government funding.
Brian, what about you?
And for us, yeah, we're based out of Santa Clarita, California, and my dad actually is the owner and president of the business. It's been around, the company's been around for 30 plus years, and we did receive PPP funding. It's helped us tremendously, but it's also been our busiest time of year with a lot of schools that are needing internet connectivity for students at home learning, a lot of different IT security attacks that are going on today, and for us to be able to protect and help them. But definitely the PPP funding did help, and we're utilizing it to the best of our ability.
Do you both believe that the financial assistance that businesses have received is enough to keep them afloat?
Kathryn, I'll start with that one. So yes and no. I think it's an interesting time for a lot of businesses, and I think it just depends on the field of industry you're in. If you're a restaurant and just living in general here in the Santa Clarita Valley, I've been to a lot of restaurants that have been going under just due to the fact that they don't have the necessary resources, they can't keep up with rent, they don't have the necessary people that are coming by. But for our particular business, we have people that work at home, we have people that work in the office, and we've kept up tremendously. So IT's been a good field to be in. But depending on the sector you're in, I think there definitely needs to be more funding available to them.
So I'm not sure oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm not sure if you guys heard about big food chains such as Shake Shack lowering their employee numbers in order to qualify as a small business for these loans. But what does that make you guys feel being a small business?
I think if anything, it just goes to show, I think what Brian was saying, that just the way I think the funding and loans were set up just isn't really adequate for a lot of businesses, whether you're big or small. And I think it just goes to show that, you know, even corporations are suffering. And we've seen that across the board with corporations, I think, in all different fields. Like, you know, there's been big retail clothing chains that have gone under. So I think it just really speaks volumes to see these multi-million-dollar companies that are having to do things like that to try to get funding. And I definitely think it hurts businesses like mine and Brian's and other small businesses that are actually small businesses. And, you know, obviously that funding should be going toward the small businesses. But I think overall, it's just an unfortunate situation that that's even having to happen, and just kind of shows that the whole way of them giving money out is just not adequate, I don't think.
Brian, would you agree with that?
I do, and I think it's forced businesses, ours in particular, and I know a lot of others, to pivot and to create new ways of their business model, thinking of new initiatives. Again, the hotspot industry was not something that we've been a part of for any part of our business for 30 years, but I work with a lot of school districts at my past job and had built a lot of relationships where they wanted me to look into solutions for them. So we pivoted our business model a little bit and what we sold, and now it's really worked out tremendously for us. And I'm saying probably same with a lot of businesses out there. They've had to change what they do really well to meet the circumstances, and those are the ones that are thriving.
So with you owning an IT company and Kathryn owning a fast food joint, what businesses do you think might be suffering more than others? Because you guys are both in interesting situations.
I think I think the businesses that are suffering the most are ones, obviously, that are non-essential. And I have a lot of friends that own businesses that have companies like, you know, eyebrow companies where they do women's eyebrows, or clothing stores that before the pandemic were really thriving. And I think now everybody just feels really desperate. Nobody really wants to spend money that's not essential. So while there are a lot of restaurants that are going under, I think that places where, you know, you have to buy food or eat food, that's something that people, I think, kind of feel more in tune to spend their money at because everybody has to eat. So I think it's those places where there are businesses that you might treat yourself to something or something that you don't regularly spend money on are suffering a lot more.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think nail parlors,
Yeah.
haircut shops. It's funny. I have friends now that I ask them because their hair is getting so long. Where do you go for your haircut now? And they don't really know. But we have banded together. We go to local restaurants and bars, and friends are cutting people's hair now. So it's just interesting the dynamics that are changing our world. And but I think to Kathryn's point, it depends on a specialty stuff and need that we really don't need anymore. That's kind of the businesses that are hurting.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting seeing which businesses are being affected the most by this. Did you guys feel financially prepared when COVID-19 first hit?
Yes, we did feel financially prepared because we had done our business model and plan, obviously not planning for a pandemic. And then I remember, you know, when everything started unfolding and it started getting serious, I remember waking up one morning, 2 weeks into the pandemic, and seeing that all restaurants were being required to shut down. And that was at a time when we were 2 weeks from opening our doors, which was our planned day. So it definitely caused a lot of anxiety, and we had to, you know, just do a lot of thinking and reallocating money and reconfiguring our business plan and model. And it was just really scary to have an open date set and then have that news that, now all of a sudden restaurants can't open.
Okay, so for our last question, I would just like you to tell me a little bit about why you think small businesses are important.
Yeah, so I'll say this. Data Link Networks, we are a family-run business, and we support our clients in Southern California and now nationwide. But why we're so important is we have the trust, we have the relationship builds, we really work with our clients very closely. And having that as a small business gives you that opportunity to build those relationships, whereas a larger business, you're treated as a number. And I think that's why Data Link Networks is so important, because we really do care about our clients and have those relationships.
That's a really good point to end on. Thank you guys both for talking with me. I'll let you go.
Thanks, Savannah. Thank you, guys.
Have a great day. Bye.
Have a good day, everyone.
In just a moment, we'll bring in 2 more guests to talk about how COVID-19 has been affecting small businesses. But first, we're going to bring you a story from our reporter Amanda Alvarado, who spoke to the co-owner of a Mexican restaurant in Canoga Park about how she is dealing with the pandemic.
Restaurants are struggling since Governor Gavin Newsom closed indoor dining statewide. Co-owner of Viva la Vida Mariscos, Maria Preciado, says the most difficult part of owning the restaurant is making enough money to pay rent.
We are making enough to pay our employees, but for rent we have a pretty large bill to cover.
Papas, rice? Preciado has owned Viva la Vida for around 15 years, but when the pandemic started, she feared her business would shut down permanently.
Businesses closed in fear because of how bad the economy is, and I was afraid that there would be cases here, forcing me to close too. But thanks to God, we are still good.
Preciado says she misses being able to offer better hospitality to her customers.
Interact with the people and offer better service, because one now can do that, because we are not able to get too close to one another.
As some restaurants are able to adjust, Yelp data shows nearly 16,000 restaurants have already permanently closed due to the pandemic. Reporting from Canoga Park, I'm Amanda Alvarado.
Welcome back. We are here with Nancy Hoffman Vanyek, who is the president and CEO of the San Fernando Valley Chamber of Commerce, and Silvina Bamrungpong, who is a professor in the David Nazarian College of Business and Economics at Cal State Northridge. Specializing in management, she is also the director of the Business Honors Program at CSUN, and I'm so glad to be able to speak with you both. So my first question is for you, Nancy. So I did a little bit of research about the America's Recovery Fund Coalition, and I read an article that you are quoted in by Fox 25. You are quoted as saying, "Without bold and immediate help, we are at risk of losing small businesses." Can you tell us a little bit about why you think that?
Every single day, we are literally watching businesses close. We did a survey back in June, and 75% of small businesses said they would not be open by September. And now we're starting to see that ripple down effect. And 2020 is already a harsh reality, and I don't think 2021 is going to get much better.
I think this kind of goes into another quote that you have said, which is, "Reopening isn't as simple as flipping a sign on the window." Can you kind of just describe that part?
Let me just back up from that quote. That was early on in the pandemic when we thought everything was going to be open, right? And even then it wouldn't have been easy just to flip a switch and open a door, because now your employees are collecting EDD. Maybe they found another job. Maybe they've moved out of state. You may have to train new employees because you've lost your employees, and the onboarding of employees is not an easy process. It's long and tedious, and they also can't get up to speed as quickly as someone who already has the experience. So first you're dealing with that. Now with this open start, close start, over and over again, businesses are truly struggling. They can't just like, for instance, the governor goes on the news and he says, hair salons are going to be open tomorrow. Well, that doesn't mean someone can just walk into their salon and have an appointment so they're going to make money. It doesn't work that way. Or they can't bring back their receptionist. We have lots of small businesses who are very excited to hear that businesses are opening. But let me explain also about Los Angeles County. So it's the supreme law of the land. The governor comes out and says, these are the businesses that can open, which really comes from the State Department of Public Health. Then each county's public health department has to decipher that and decide how to follow it. LA County is operating under much stricter rulings or health department orders than the state. They've chosen to take those orders versus other counties where it opens the very next day and says, we're going to look at this and we're going to rewrite our own health order. And then the city of Los Angeles or any of these other cities within Los Angeles or the whole state can make it even stricter than the county. So you have in LA County stricter health orders than you do at the state level. Just like, for instance, bars, breweries, wineries are not allowed to open with third-party food vendors, meaning they can't have a food truck or a caterer, when every other county in the entire state is allowed to do that. So LA County has made that decision. So that's why I'm saying, like, you can't just like assume that just because this ruling happens, how is, if they say tomorrow a brewery or bar or winery can have third-party food vendors, now they have to find a third-party food vendor. It's just not easy transition.
So I was looking at some of the surveys that America's Recovery Fund Coalition as well as Save Small Businesses Coalition did. And in their findings, nearly half of these businesses, at 47%, said that the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, was not enough assistance to stay afloat. Can you kind of explain what PPP is and why this is a problem?
Payroll Protection Program is actually basically another form of unemployment in the long run, even though it may not come out that way. It's a loan, but what you're basically doing is you're paying to keep your employees on your payroll. So you're kind of giving them unemployment even if you're not open, because you have to have them employed for so long, or you have to bring them back within a certain period of time. So for a lot of businesses, especially, let's not forget, in March, we thought we were going to be closed for 2 weeks because we were flattening the curve. Now we're trying to find a cure. So we've already flattened the curve if you've actually looked at the actual materials. But now there's all these other metrics. So of course, we didn't expect it to be such a high spread of a disease back in March. So payroll protection was supposed to be 8 weeks. Then they changed it to, I think, 12 weeks to 24 weeks. And now you have to apply for forgiveness. And that makes it really hard for a lot of businesses who may not have lasted 24 weeks. And now they've already paid these employees this money, and they may not have enough income coming in to pay that loan back. Or they may not get forgiveness because they may not be able to hire the people back. When PPP first started, you actually had to hire people back at the exact same position and salary. It was really difficult. Now, at least they're saying if your payroll was $10,000 and you just have to have $10,000 for the payroll, which makes it a lot easier as you're trying to operate and get up to speed. Because some business, like even regular banks, they're not open normal hours anymore. They're open like 10 to 4. I used to be a banker. I used to work 10 to 4. But these days, banks are open 9 to 7 when you go to US Bank in a grocery store. They're not even open. So all these businesses are cutting back on their hours. They're working from home. It totally changes the whole landscape and canvas of the business community. And, I want to touch this one because I was listening to you talk to those other two businesses about did they apply for PPP and how do they feel about it and all that. And one of them mentioned something about they applied and it's helped them stay in business. But like I mentioned a few minutes ago, PPP isn't the answer. There are a lot of businesses. You mentioned Shake Shack, and we do know a lot of big businesses who applied for the PPP that weren't eligible, or they shouldn't have been eligible, because the CARES Act was put together in such a haste to try to get money out there to save business. And in the meantime, while they've given that money back, that money at the beginning didn't go back in the pot. It was just, you just repay the loan. Now they've finally changed the PPP that if you pay it back right away, it goes back into the pot to recirculate back to the business community. So there have been a lot of changes going on, but businesses are now afraid to apply for it.
Silvina, I did want to direct some questions your way. Thank you for being patient. From a business perspective, can you just kind of describe to us what these businesses are going through right now?
Well, from what we've been seeing, especially with the last semester where our students worked with 10 select businesses for our program, we have seen everything from, financial difficulties to figuring out what they want to do or whether they should go online, whether they should, not have the business any longer. There was just so much upheaval, and COVID was so devastated to most of our clients. Many of them were trying to figure out with the students because COVID literally hit when we were in the middle of our semester. And so the students were working, had all these plans based on what the client's needs were, and then we all had to pivot with them, along with them. So our students were working day and night with them, trying to figure out what they could do to help the client survive. And so they came up with lots of different strategies depending on the client need. And many of them were doing well last when we spoke to them. We actually touched base with them at the end of the semester to see, if what we had provided to them worked out for them and what didn't work out. And so if they needed other assistance, we were going to try to connect them with other resources that we had.
So what are some helpful tips and links to give the owners of these businesses?
So our capstone is where we work with the businesses in our program. And in June of 2019, last year, we partnered with the Werwand Foundation, which is founded by Jane Werwand, that supports small to mid-sized business entrepreneurs. And also as part of the consulting program, clients are also invited to participate in Found LA's Local Business Boost, and that supports all types of businesses, providing them with funding, mentorship, educational resources, all as part of our program. And so we connect them with this foundation as part of our program when they work with our students throughout the semester. So the Werwand has been a fantastic partnership, as well as Found LA, to assist these businesses that we've worked with, and also provide other resources to businesses that we know of. And so we kind of shift them their way or connect them with Werwand Foundation or Found LA.
So I would assume that some of your students are either aspiring or current business owners. What should they be worrying about when preparing for owning a business?
Oh my goodness, that's quite the question. I think strategy is one, but also having financing, putting their finance skills, their strategy skills to work, working with investors. Many of them work with some of our alumni. So we have alumni networking events for our students, and they work with them to try to figure out, here's what my idea of a business, or I'm just going to get into accounting or marketing or some other discipline, and they connect with those alumni for support. So, investing, looking at their finances, having a plan A, B, and C, maybe even D in this climate. So they really need to focus on a strategy and really think things out before going into either trying their own business, or even when they're attempting to work with a business to have a position in that business. So those would be our largest tips. Other things are basics, such as, do your research, make sure that you network, make connections, find out where you can have resources and support, and so on.
So final question. We all know that the coronavirus is something that was unexpected in how it impacted businesses, especially across the country. Is there any way that these owners could have prepared for something like this?
We always tell people, including like even our own chamber, we should have so much money in reserves. all the time. But even with money in reserves, no one could have anticipated this type of recession at all. I mean, this is unheard of since when Spanish flu maybe. And even back then, you only quarantined people who were sick, not who were well. And so I don't think you could, you only anticipate so much. I mean, you could have a marketing plan, you could have the best laid plans, but if you're a brand new business, you probably don't even have extra money to have 2 or 3 months of reserves in the bank. And I know a lot of businesses who are afraid to touch their reserves, even though that's why they're there.
Right. So. I completely agree, Nancy. I mean, this was completely unprecedented. I didn't, even if we did think about it, I don't know that we could have noticed or understand the extent of everything and what it was going to touch.
It's not like an earthquake kit. You can't put in a bunch of food and water and be prepared for a natural disaster.
I also think what you said about businesses not even wanting to touch their reserves or not even having reserves because they're new, that especially applied to the business that I spoke with, Kathryn, who was on here earlier, that they didn't even have the chance to open yet.
There's a lot of businesses like that. And then you have to think of the trickle-down effect. Like we had a member of the chamber, they were a manufacturer, and their customers were spas. They manufacture for spas. Every spa in the world was shut down because of COVID. They literally went out of business in like 30 days because they had no customers. They didn't see an end in sight. So those are the type of things that we're seeing happen. So it's not just, you have the ones like Kathryn who just opened, has no reserves. Then you have a company who probably has some money, but they don't see an end in sight. And it's just, it's basically, you're shooting arrows in the dark. We really don't know what's happening, and it's really hard. I mean, we had a meeting today with the mayor's office. We had a meeting last week with the Department of Public Health. We continue to monitor everything, and we have a website, sfbresource.com, where we post the health order. This is all business related because there's a lot of community information out there. Business related, where to get loans, grants, where to get business counseling, where to get the health orders out. And we keep that updated because it changes so quickly. And I'm trying to get away from using the words pivoting because I've never pivoted that much since I was probably in ballet. But we have been we just need to just keep up with what's going on. And it's difficult because it changes by the minute, not even by the day.
I think everything you guys have said has been really great and really insightful for people that might not understand this. And I'm going to let you guys go for the day. But thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching On Point, and thank you for our panelists for sharing their perspectives. That's all we have time for today. You can follow us on social media at CSUN On Point. You can hear our show rebroadcast on the radio on 88.5 FM, KCSN on Sunday mornings at 5:30. You can watch us on LA 36 and on Santa Clarita Valley Television. To get more information about our show, go to CSUNTVnews.com. I'm Sophia Lesseos. Thank you for watching.